And we're back again. You guys there?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. 15 more minutes left to go. We're good. So what I want you guys to get is that when it says the facts, you notice that it's the facts. You see where they end. It ends at where the story ends. Okay,
Mhm.
it ends where the story ends. Now, after the facts, I told you that the courts have to then discuss what the law is that relates to this case. Now, just to tell you real quick, because I have a minute to tell you what real quick what happened here, and you'll get it. Okay, so what happened here is pretty straightforward. The arresting officer testified that as he was examining the license and registration of the driver of a vehicle, okay, so this cop is somewhere and he has someone else stopped, just some regular person stopped, and he's getting that person's license and registration, okay, not the defendant, not the guy in this case, okay. So while he's doing that, he observed this defendant walking back and forth on the sidewalk, okay? Okay, as though that's a crime, okay? But for some reason, it's a big deal to this officer. So what happens, the defendant passed the officer about 5 or 6 times. Maybe that's a crime, I don't know. The officer, who was in plain clothes, then told the defendant that he would like to speak to him. Okay, for what? I'm just walking, okay? The defendant walked away, okay? The officer ran down the street. Okay, can anyone tell me so far what crime the defendant has committed? Can anyone tell me?
No crime.
None.
Suspicious.
Absolutely none. Absolutely none. But the officer right now is running down the street, okay? Goes around a parked van and came out in front of the defendant. So he cuts the defendant off, okay? When he cuts him off, the officer observes a bulge, okay, in the pouch, okay, of the defendant's jacket pocket, some kind of bulge. He stops a guy and he sees some bulge in the pouch section of the defendant's jacket. Now here's the problem. What the officer does is that he feels the bulge, he feels it, he pats him down, and believing it to be envelopes, okay, reaches into the pouch, goes in his jacket pocket, pulls out heroin. Okay, so some people say, "Oh, well, he found heroin. That's a good bust. That's a good officer." Okay, but here's the problem. What probable cause did he have to even stop the guy? Okay, so that becomes a question. Okay, now the people concede with commendable candor. This is the court talking. The defendant's motion to suppress the heroin should have been granted. So what happened in the lower court, when this guy had the same case in lower court, and he went before a judge in the lower court and said, "Judge, that heroin that you found, I know it was illegal, but that officer had no right to find it because I didn't do anything wrong and it should have been suppressed." That judge in that lower court denied it, didn't suppress it, and this guy realized that if he went to trial, he has a long sheet, was probably going to get like 10 or 15 years, pled guilty, and was sentenced to like 5 years in jail. Within that 5 years, though, he said, "I'm appealing this decision." That's where this case comes from. So like 2 years into his sentence, he's appealing this decision. And now the DA is before the appellate court, and they're basically telling these 5 judges, "Yeah, you're right. I think the judge downstairs, okay, should have suppressed and these drugs, and this guy never should have taken a plea." So here's what the court starts to discuss: the law. When they say, and that's what you have to be able to find in a decision. When they start talking like this, listen how it says: to justify the stop of a person in a public place, a police officer must articulate the specific facts along with any logical deduction which led him or her to reasonably suspect that criminal activity was afoot and that the person stopped was involved in such activity. People versus Candor. They tell you in other words, we have the facts already. Now they're saying this is what the law is that relates to stopping someone on the street. You have to have you have to be able to articulate specific facts that lead you to conclude that criminal activity was foot specifically. Okay, so that's the law, and now they do the analysis. They take the law and then they analyze it with the facts. That's the next thing that happens here, and they say it right here. Read it. Here, the defendant did nothing but walk back and forth in the street. This behavior is not without any more indicative of any criminal activity. The fact that the defendant walked away when the police officer spoke to him cannot in and of itself be used to justify a stop and frisk. They're saying if you've done nothing in front of the police, just because you walk away, even if them telling you, okay, doesn't justify them stopping you. If they had no basis, that's what this case is saying, if they have no articulable reason to stop you. So it says again, the fact that the defendant walked away when the police officer spoke to him cannot in and of itself be used to justify a stop and frisk, because this is part of that stop and frisk stuff. It even goes further. So here's the thing. Even if you want to do a stop and frisk, you know that when the police stop you and they do this, that pat down is only supposed to be of the outer part of your body and only for the purposes of their safety. In other words, all they should be looking for is like a gun.
Okay.
They should be looking for a weapon or a knife or a gun. It's got to be a hard object. When he touched it, and he's good, he testified truthfully, he felt what he believed to be envelopes. Okay, clearly not a weapon. Okay, so when you feel envelopes, then you have no reason to go into the guy's pocket and take it out because you know it's not a gun, and you had no basis to stop him. He's not threatening to you because he has no weapon on him, so you could talk to him 2 feet away, and that's it. So here it says, in any event, once a police officer knew that the bulge was not a weapon, he had no right to continue the search by reaching into the defendant's pocket. Since the heroin was unlawfully seized, the suppression motion is granted and the indictment is dismissed. So this case ultimately was dismissed and the defendant was let out of jail because the officer never should have did what he did. More importantly, the judge in lower court never should have let this case get this far by not suppressing it. But what I'm showing you is the following. They give you the facts, and this is what I want you to get from here, because the legal stuff, I don't want you guys to get wrapped up in that. They give you the facts, and the facts should read like a story, straight up. After that, you're going to see a part where they talk about the law, all right? And again, it's the words that are used to tell you that they must be talking about the law now, because to justify a stop of a person, that doesn't sound like the facts. That's clearly not the facts, okay? How do we know they're talking about the legal argument? How do we know they get to it? Because they said, here the defendant.
Examples.
I'm sorry, we say?
No, go ahead.
He says, here the defendant did nothing but walk back and forth. That's when the legal analysis is coming through. So ultimately, with one of these, you might get like just a sheet of one of these cases, whatever. And I'll just say, listen, just circle where the procedural history begins and ends. Just circle the date of decision. Just put parentheses around the facts in this case. Can you tell me where the legal analysis starts? Can you tell me where the law starts and ends? That's really what it is. Because, like I said, you're not gonna. I mean, some of these cases are interesting. You're not gonna be able to get that by now. But I'll just be asking you again some basic things just so that you can find your way around a decision. The substance of it, it's not important. I mean, if you feel like reading it, you can read it. It's up to you. It's no big deal. Okay. I'm not holding you to like, what does it mean? Okay. Also, when I show you something like, I said, well, who was a judge in lower court? If I ask you, who was a judge in lower court who made this decision? Okay. Well, then you should be able to say, listen, an appeal in the procedural history, an appeal by the defendant from a judgment of the Supreme Court, Queens County, Brennan J. Judge Brennan.
Wait, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Would Judge Brennan be reprimanded because he made his decision like that?
No, believe it or not. The reprimand for judges like that comes back in the manner in which these appellate court writes their decisions. Like like they might say the judge should have seen, it's in the writing. They're not going to insult each other. They're never going to do that.
Oh,
I was
so
gonna
it's like
ask a similar
respectful, right?
question, but when it comes to the police officer, is he gonna get reprimanded in some sort of way?
The problem here's the problem, Andre, is that this is probably 3 years after this guy has already been sentenced. And he's
Yeah.
already done like
Oh,
3 years.
he has a criminal record now. I mean, for nothing. So there's got to be something. So come up some kind of remedies. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you know what? And let me tell you actually who this guy is, because I know who this guy is. Just for interesting sake, at a time when Queens County was like bursting over with crack cocaine and like people getting murdered left, right, and center. Okay, this young man named Kenneth McGriff, okay, was the head of an organization called the Supreme Team. If you get a chance, you could Google the Supreme Team, Queens County. The Supreme Team was a drug organization that was amassing millions, over $10 million a month. Okay, that is how much money this young man was actually making by controlling, in a corporate sense, all of the drug activity in Queens County. It was amazing. What came with that, though, was a lot of murder. Okay, a lot of people got killed by his word. And when we tried him in lower court, in criminal court, not for this case, but for other cases, we're talking like 22 years ago, he was never convicted in lower court because the juries were scared. They knew of him. They were scared to convict him because they were scared of what would happen to them. We had to send his case to the federal government, okay, where at that time they were going along with anonymous jurors who were behind a wall, jurors whose names were never made public, jurors who you never knew who they were. And those jurors were able to now convict. They ultimately convict him. He actually was responsible for several murders. He was actually sentenced to death for several murders. And that when New York got rid of the death penalty, it was changed to life in prison without parole. So it's very possible, Andre, if I have to guess, that officer who stopped him probably knew, who he was.
Yeah.
Okay, but what he did that was wrong is that he should have waited for a legitimate reason to stop him and not just kind of make it up. I'm actually surprised the officer didn't lie, and actually surprised that he was actually truthful on the stand, and which led to this case being dismissed. But by the time this case was dismissed, he was already doing federal time, and he was sentenced to life in prison, and he's gone away. So you just look up Kenneth McGriff, you'll see some very interesting things.
That's a really specific situation, though. I just feel like police has unlimited rights to do whatever they want, and that's a problem.
Oh, 100%. Listen, I agree with you 100%.
Even the tickets that they write you, they can write you a ticket for whatever they want because it's not admission of guilt. So it's crazy. There's no way to go after them.
You can tell Andre's a rebel in this group. Anyway, listen, I'm pretty much done here. Here's the point. Over the weekend, I'm going. First, I'm going to send you back your homeworks. I'll send you that back in a day or two. And in addition to that, I'm just going to send you one or two of these other cases like this for you to look at and just to get an idea. There'll be simple cases for you to get an idea of. If you look for this, look for that, look for this, and you try to find it. And the last, okay, so what we're going to do, the last thing we're going to do next week will just be the power of attorney documents. And when you do the power of attorneys, I'll probably just have you write out one of those, and then we're pretty much at the end. The final is going to be pretty straightforward. It probably will just be the last three things that we've just been doing. The waivers, the legal opinion, and the wills, and the the power of attorney stuff that we'll do next week. That's it. I'm gonna put up 2 reports that if you guys want to do it, it's up to you. 2 pages, double space on a legal topic. For those of you who think you need it, most of you don't need it at all. And my suggestion is that I mean, you guys know how you do in this class. I would not be so so reticent to jump on a pass fail. You know, I think you guys should kind of like stray away from that if you can. If you think you want to deal with that, I appreciate if you email me first and let's talk about it. I don't think it helps your GPA, because this class is not that difficult that you guys shouldn't just generally just do well, and don't go for a pass fail, just like that. I know a lot of schools are doing that, but I'm encouraging you not to do that. If you think you're worried about it, then call me. We'll talk about it. We'll figure something out. All right.
Cool.
I'm done.
Professor, one question. Did you ever get a chance to think about the whole participation and it being counted as a half a letter grade?
I mean, I still have not figured out how to put that in, except for the fact that everyone, I have the attendance of everyone who's been showing up here. I have that, so that's something to take into consideration.
And before that.
Yeah,
right.
You guys are fine. Don't worry about it. Believe me. All right.
So are we gonna? When is like our last like class? Is it the 30th?
Okay, I'll tell you. Let me look on the thing now, Victoria. 1 second. Because the way it works is like when is this school over? I mean, when is?
I don't even know. That's like
Okay,
I think it's the first week of the final.
No, I got something from the school the other day. Let me just see. Hold on. Let me see. It was like a calendar. What the hell is that? Did I do a screenshot of it, or I might have screenshot it? Let's see. Screenshot. Calendar. Christ. Stocks. Oh. Oh God, where the hell is it? Oh, there it is. So it says I have here April 15th, Monday classes, no meet. Right. April 17th, last day to withdraw from a class or classes. May 5th, study day, no classes. May 6th, study day, no classes. May 6th, last day to apply for pass fail. May 7th through the 13th, final examination week. So it looks like what's today? Today is the
16th
of April, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means if today's April 16th, then we only have April 16th. We only have really two classes. We only have two classes until we have until we're the week of the 7th for final exam. Right, exactly.
Okay.
So you're right. Our last class will be the 30th. Okay, but so the 23rd, the 23rd, I will give just the thing on power of attorney. Okay, just doing that. On the 30th, I'll just give you a quiz on power of attorney. It'll be a short one. Matter of fact, I'll send it to you like earlier that week since you guys are like basically home all the time. But it'll be due back by the 30th, and I'll also send out by the 19th, that the essay if you guys want to write it or if you guys want to contact me, and then on the 7th, actually I'll send you the final like on the 6th, and it'll be due back the 7th.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'll send you the final on the 6th. It'll be due back on the 7th.
Professor, 2 quick questions. The final again is waivers, will, power of attorney. What am I missing?
And waivers, wills, power of attorney, and legal opinion.
Okay.
All right.
Professor, one more thing. You know how, for instance, when you go to say traffic court and you have to see a judge, right? And let's say you have a lawyer with you, and he will say to you, "Oh, we have a good judge. She's pretty good today." What is the general opinion of you? If a lawyer walks in and it's Holder on the bench, what do they say? Oh my God! I'm just curious.
They say he's a fair judge, but you don't want to get convicted in front of him.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Right, that's a good question. You get a fair trial, but don't get convicted. Good question. All right. All right, you guys take care. Anyone any questions, Andrew?
Yeah, last one. Well, for me anyway. What is the percentage that correlates to a grade letter A?
I don't know. It was a 90. I think it's like 90, 90, 92 or 93 and above, I believe.
I think it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta look at it again. I don't know.
Thank you.
You guys take care of yourself, and remember that they want you to wear those things like outside now. Just generally, don't. It's what I mean. You can't really just you can't just fuck it up. I'm telling you, this is not good. I mean, it's like it's affecting some of our classmates. Some of them are not here. I know this for a fact. And I'm not sure how they got it. They don't know how they got it, but they're on the mend. But it really knocked them for a loop. All right. And so thinking that, like those guys down in South Beach, like, oh, I'm good, I'm not going to get it. I'm too young to get it. Not at all. I mean, and even if you thought that, you get it and you bring it home to your parents, your grandparents, I mean, you have to think about that as well. When we have 700 people dying every day, that doesn't make any sense to me. I can't even fathom that. I can't, I can't fathom it. I've seen the tractor trailers of trucks of bodies just going by on the highway, like 30 of them. They take them away like at night, when nobody can see them, and it's like we're in another country. It's crazy. It's crazy. So you guys take care, all right? It's good talking to you. Miss you guys. I have to say, I'm so upset about this whole Nazi because I told my wife, I said, this is like my favorite class, in several years. I've come across a class that is like they're engaging, they're very smart and stuff like that. And now I don't have an opportunity to be, physically around you guys and stuff like that. So that's kind of disappointing to me. There's a couple of classes I thought they were just really pathetically stupid.
I concur. I concur.
I'm really happy with you guys. All right, I miss you guys. Guys, take care of yourself.
Yeah, by the way, also movie called Contagion.
Bye.
Really,
got you.
Have a good night.
All right.
Thank you.
Claudio, we'll talk about that, okay?
Yes.
Good night, Professor.
Take care.
Bye.
Be good. All
Take
right.
care. Have a good one.
Hi, Professor.
Yep. Good night.
How do I lost that?